So a little behind the scenes thing. We
Love
had
it.
talked about recording an episode last week, but it didn't work out
Mhm.
scheduling wise. And I'm honestly glad it didn't, because reporting on this today would be so different than if we had been doing it a week ago.
Is that so?
Yes, and I am very curious about how it will be this weekend.
Interesting.
Now, normally I don't bring up Marvel news, except I do have something coming up. But normally I don't bring up MCU news anymore because it's just like it's like an ex-wife. Like, we had fun, but you know, I root for you, but you know, our time is done.
We made a couple good kids. Well, one of them sucks. One of them's
Yeah.
kind of a disappointment. He's trying to be an actor.
Yes.
But
But
the other one's good. He's a doctor and a
yeah,
lawyer.
he's all right. But you know, this is kind of big for the whole film industry because recently Black Widow came out, an MCU movie, and it was going to be kind of a big test for this experiment Disney Plus has been doing with Disney Premier Access.
Yeah.
So it was also kind of thought to be what could jolt some life back into the movie theater industry, which personally, I didn't think Black Widow was the one that could do it, because I mean, she exists with superheroes, but she's not really a superhero. She's a spy character who exists in a world with superheroes. But you know, whatever.
I mean, I don't know. Could you make that argument about like Batman? I don't know.
But Batman, he's got a costume and everything. He's got gadgets.
That's true. Black Widow does deserve more of a costume. I'll say that. I think they should design her with more of a costume.
Oh, before we get into it, you know what I was thinking about? You know, in Endgame, how Captain Marvel's in there?
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know, she has such a cool mask helmet type thing that she has in her solo movie. Yeah. I wish they had brought that back in Endgame, because it's just such a cool looking thing.
Yeah, she has one of the coolest costumes.
Yes. I just always prefer wearing masks. I just think it looks cool.
They've got the weird acting philosophy where you want to clearly see their whole face. But I want to see more masks and stuff. I get you.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure Black Widow could. I thought maybe, I think the only one coming up was Batman, maybe Spider-Man, but then this version's very divisive. It's not like Tobey Maguire's, but you know, it is the MCU. It is factually the biggest franchise going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it could be the thing to kind of jolt some life back into theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had the Disney Plus thing Premier Access thing for a while. Mm-hmm. We had Mulan, which turned out to be a big failure. We had Raya and the Last Dragon, another failure. And then we had Cruella, which was another failure. And Black Widow came, and it came out, and it was the biggest opening of the pandemic, which a lot of people were very excited about. You know, I wasn't interested in seeing Black Widow, but I loved seeing how it jolted back some life. Like, God bless you, Marvel. You brought some life back into the movie
people care a
theaters.
little bit more again.
Yes. You know, this is her last one. You know, she's been there the whole, like I said in the previous episode, she and Cap are in the most important movies, so she deserves to go out on a high note.
Mm-hmm.
But the weekend of Black Widow, while everyone is cheering about, hey, look at how it's had the biggest opening of the pandemic, Disney is excited because for the first time, they announced Black Widow made $60 million on Disney Plus Premier Access, which compared to, I think, the domestic opening, 80 million compared to 60 million. So
I see.
That is a lot that movie took.
Yeah.
Now, well, I was excited for Space Jam, which turned out to be a regret. I was still expecting, obviously, look, it's Marvel. There's still, some people who are giving hope to the MCU. God bless you for it.
Yeah.
Still some people rooting for it. I was expecting Black Widow to be the #1 movie again, but it wasn't. It was Space Jam. And Black Widow had the biggest drop of the pandemic. And early reports are talking about how movie theaters were very unhappy because they thought that Disney Plus is what killed Black Widow in its second weekend because of the big drop.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, I kind of agree with them because
I guess I'm guessing Space Jam: A New Legacy is not on streaming, right?
It's on HBO Max.
Oh, okay. But
Space Jam made more, I'll let you
continue because I'm not seeing the thread quite yet.
Because if you buy it, because opening weekend, it was more for the hardcore fans. They were going to go out and see it. And because you were able to buy it once on Disney Plus, you didn't have those fans going back to see it again.
Oh.
And people who are not the hardcore fans were just like, well, all right, it's $30 and I can watch it all summer. Fine. $30, do that. Like, I won't lie. If this pandemic had happened in summer 2016, I would have gone to see Civil War once in theaters and then pay the $30 on Disney Plus so I could watch it whenever I wanted.
Yeah.
I think that Batman's the only one I would do that for next year.
Mm-hmm.
If it's good. But so a lot of people are talking about, hey, did Disney sabotage their own movie with this whole premiere access and theatrical launch?
Yeah.
So first of all, I guess the question is, what do you think this does for Black Widow? I think, unfortunately, this will be, well, how much did The Incredible Hulk make? Because I think so far that's the least successful one, even though, in my opinion, it's a great. I love that movie. It's underrated. All right, so it's got 260. So Black Widow's already beat it, but $200 million budget. Black Widow, I think it's going to be one of the least successful ones.
Yeah, I see.
And it's not because like of bad word of mouth. I mean, it's getting okay. People are like, well, it's fine. It's not Civil War, Winter Soldier, or the first Iron Man, but it's good. Except I heard the villains suck. But
so it's basically like clearly something is bad for it and doesn't appear to be the movie.
Yes, the Disney Plus Premiere Access killed it. And you have to, it really puts into question, what is the future of Disney Premiere Access?
Mm-hmm.
Because do you remember when Disney did that whole Investor Day thing?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if they do that again this year, since Comic-Con's this weekend and neither DC or Marvel are there, so there's really no
Comic-Con episodes. I completely forgot.
Yes.
Summer.
So I guess we'll do some DC fandom and the Disney thing, whatever. But at their shareholder thing, clearly Disney Plus was kind of the center of the company.
Yeah.
I think there might be a little bit of we'll be finding out soon. What is more important to Disney? Is it the theatrical experience, or is it Disney Plus?
Mm-hmm.
I think that, because they've just lost money now because people aren't going to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah.
I think that I thought that for sure the first weekend Black Widow meant Disney Premiere Access was going to be a thing. Now, I think last week might have been the final nail in the coffin of not only has this failed before, now it's killing the movie that we were really banking on. Because I think Premier Access really only works for Marvel and Star Wars. I don't think people would do it for like, I mean, maybe Frozen, but even then, I don't know. But I think,
yeah, those are the biggest things they've got.
I think Star Wars and Marvel are really the only ones that work. Star Wars episodic films.
Yeah.
So I think it's dead. I think Premier Access is going to go away soon. So
I could see that being like, oh, this is an experiment we tried, and it,
yeah. So what do you think about Disney, about what's going on with Black Widow's box office, and what do you think is the future of Disney Premier Access?
Yeah. Well, I definitely do think I can definitely see, and I mean, this is a little projecting of how projecting off of how I feel about it, but I definitely think it hurts the must-see feeling of like people going to see a movie they might not otherwise go out and see because of the exclusivity feeling of like the movie experience of like everyone's talking about this movie and there's only one way to see it.
Oh yeah.
Go to the movie theater. And when it's sitting there available on streaming, when you cough up the $30 or whatever, that feels quite a bit different to me, and I can definitely see that eating away at the number of sales and people seeing it. So I mean, yeah, I definitely think that that's the culprit. I mean, to some degree, maybe just in general, people's attitudes towards things have changed over the pandemic. Like, I don't know, for me, going to the movies doesn't feel like want something to incorporate into my life for just anything again. Like, I still haven't seen a movie in theater again. Like it just doesn't mesh with how I like to see movies that well, really. So, but if it had been in the theater and that was the only way to see it and it was an experience, I think that even for me, it would be more likely that I'd go see it. The question that I've been trying to answer in my head, though, is whether they see that as truly the best way to make money, because I mean, so they care about ultimately in terms of business decisions, whether the money-making option for them is to try and capitalize on like the future prospects of the streaming service thing and hope that it gets better, or whether in some way they think that the net outcome of it is ultimately better for them, or whether they think they're getting more off of creating a movie experience type situation. Based on, if I had to guess, based on how awful it looks like this has done, I would guess that they were probably trying to pivot to streaming and creating some new thing. And now that they're seeing it's not working, I could see them going back on it, like you're suggesting, the premiere thing ending. I think we will see that in the coming movies, though. Whether this pivot back is going to happen.
Well, the only upcoming one that does have the Premier Access thing is Jungle Cruise. Like, none of the other Marvel movies this year are doing the Premier Access thing.
Got it. I've got incessant ads for that, yeah. Yeah, I really don't know.
I think if they look and see, like, I think Shang-Chi is the next one. Mm-hmm. I think that if Shang-Chi gets 500 million and Black Widow is like only 200 something or 300, I think that'll be the final nail of we lost half our money with the Premier Access thing.
Yeah. So is Shang-Chi one that's not going to be Premiere Access?
Yeah, none of the other Marvel
Okay.
ones, Shang-Chi
Okay.
or Eternals or
Yeah.
Spider-Man, which is Sony, but
that'll
none of
be
them
the
are Premiere
experiment.
Access.
That'll definitely be the experiment then.
Oh,
Is
yes.
honestly, it might make more. I don't know.
Especially people, if they want to watch it again, they have to go back, put down that $11 for a ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this is something I'm consistently like conflicted on because like just this whole conversation because I don't personally care about like the it's almost like it benefits me a little bit for things to move away from the movie theater experience because most of the movies I watch are at home on streaming services. But I really don't want just all the movies to just sift into the hands of just a few corporations that have the streaming services. Uh, but it's not like movie theaters or like lots of movie theaters are just like AMC is just a big corporation too. Um, and I also like the idea of like when everything is just kind of on the internet, available to watch for the subscription cost or like on a YouTube or Tubi, something relatively free. I like that more indie stuff can appear right alongside a Marvel or Star Wars movie and like you can click to watch it and it almost doesn't make a difference. Like I almost feel like moving away from the movie theater exclusivity thing would almost benefit indie movies in a way. Um which I think is good. There's just so many angles to where I don't even know how I feel about it. I just know that I don't want uh I know that I don't want it to just end up being, you know, a few corporate streaming services and it destroying like all the small businesses of movie theaters. That's the complicated thing is like there isn't like a small business equivalent of a streaming service. Uh, but I think there's potential in moving away from movie theaters that just doesn't seem to be happening.